course, first of all, you read the material in the book so you can see examples of other purpose statements. Then you have each person on your retreat, in your luncheon or breakfast meeting, write out on a separate sheet of paper the vision they have for the company. What business do they think they're in? Each person is individually writing out on paper, here's what I, Henry Migliore, think we're trying to do in this company. Now, the second step then, once they've written that out, and that's been your homework assignment, then you break the group into smaller little subcommittees. So, for example, with a retreat, in a retreat setting, I had a major U.S. corporation, had about 20 of their top executives. I broke them up into 4 groups. And I said, okay, now spend about an hour and a half discussing your purpose and mission statement. At each table, have a scribe. You're going to report back. Then what I do is move from table to table, listen in on the discussion, do some monitoring, asking questions, but generally stay out of the discussion. I usually recommend that the chief executive or the highest ranking officer there also rotate among the tables with me. Not inhibiting conversation, but just being there as a resource person. Now notice a couple of subtle things that have happened. Number one, you've made each person commit individually and alone on paper, here's what I think we're trying to do. It's subtle, but that's important. So many times we'll follow an informal group leader and it robs everybody the opportunity to really think. You'll more likely defend your position if you've actually written it down on paper. Another subtle thing is taking place. As you're having a discussion, everybody is getting the opportunity to interact. You're creating some teamwork and excitement. I've been at this for 20 years, and by mid-morning of one of these kinds of retreats, you're going to have everybody so excited because now they're interacting, they're exchanging ideas with one another, they're agreeing and disagreeing, and they're coming up with a product. Okay, let's say that takes 2 hours, or let's say that took 1 full luncheon session, or perhaps 2. Then you come back and let a spokesman out of each group stand up, give their report. Number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4. Then someone leads an open discussion, and there's agreement and disagreement. It's very healthy to have a fair amount of disagreement and discussion. Now, the next step then, and this is another key critical step, is now you collect all the sheets of paper, the individual sheets that each person filled out, the report that came out of each team, and you put that in a folder that you call your purpose folder. Set that aside. Now, as you go through, and I'll continually come back and refer to this particular procedure, you're actually going to build a folder then on each step of the process. You're going to build a folder on purpose, environmental analysis, strengths, weaknesses, and assumptions. And then later on, I'll come back and show you then how to organize your planning team into such a way that you can dig deeper into each of those topics. Okay, the second step. Now you've got at least a reasonable discussion on what that purpose statement should be, and you just kind of set that aside for a while. The next step is environmental analysis. Now in the area of environmental analysis, what you're trying to do is say, get the pulse of the organization. Environmental analysis says, what's going on right now? It would be an example if in my own personal life, environmental analysis would be, what's my pulse rate right now? What's my blood pressure? What's my weight? How much sleep did I get last night? How do I feel? What's my financial condition? What's the condition of the automobiles, the roof, the house, any kind of thing? In other words, in a personal plan, you're just saying, what's going on right now? In a business plan, you're gathering statistics. What you're trying to determine is what are the interest rates. In a retreat with a major oil company, we were tracking the price of crude oil over time. You're gathering information so that when you get down to making some specific decisions, you're making decisions based on good information. This is basically what the environmental analysis stage is. Now, going back to our retreat setting, or going back to our luncheon, you then give the assignment then, let's say for your next planning session, is okay, everybody go out and be thinking about this environmental factor. Now, naturally, again, they've read copies of the book, they see examples. I've got examples here from a number of clients that I've worked with, and everybody has the assignment. Okay, come back and list what you think the most important environmental factors, the things that you have to keep track of to make a good, sensible plan. Okay, again now, each person is put on a smaller committee. They've already written out that here are the key things that you think you're supposed to keep track of. When I was manager of press manufacturing at Continental Can stockyard plants, one of the things that we knew to watch was the price of pork bellies, because we could predict based on how the prices were going in the commodity market the demand for cans. Obviously, when the prices were down, then the packers would want to come in, buy cans as fast as possible, try to pack as many as they could at the cheaper price, and then if the price went back up, have a big enough inventory. Well, it didn't take us long to figure, as we saw those prices starting to change, let's go in and start making a stock of ham cans even before the orders came in. Now, that saved us a lot of money. Here's an example of how you monitor things going on in the environment. We would stock up on the cans, and that cut was a tremendous savings then in terms of overtime, getting our equipment ready, because you knew those orders were going to be there. You want to find out what environmental factors are important to the success of your business so you can make good strategic decisions. Now, again, you've broken up in this group of 4 or 5. They are beginning to talk about what are the key factors. Then you come back, each group reports back, and then you have agreement or disagreement. You gather up the papers, you got yourself a file folder, environmental analysis, you put that one away. Okay, strengths and weaknesses. Now, is that ever fun? I always enjoy the strengths and weaknesses area, especially the strengths. Everybody enjoys looking at the strength of their organization. Once again, same pattern, whether you're on a retreat setting, going through breakfast meetings, going through luncheons, each key person come up with what you believe are the strengths of this organization. Look at the human resources, the patents, building, layout, land, products, markets, reputation. For example, at T.D. Williamson, I'm on their board of directors. One of the strengths of that company has been their long-term position in the marketplace, the integrity of that company, the high quality. When you talk about T.D. Williamson and the pipeline service business, you're automatically thinking a quality product. So as they put together their strategic plan, this is something they look at as a strength. Now again, you've asked each person before they come into the planning meeting, list what you believe our major strengths are. Okay, again, you come in, same cycle again. Create your 4 little subgroups, or 5, or whatever it takes. You should never have over 6 or 7 on a group. I usually like 4, 5, or 6, but divide your groups up. Okay, they talk about the major strengths and rank them. You know, what are our top 5 strengths? What's really driving this company? What's making us successful? Again, each chairman pops up, here's your report, then more discussion. The chairman of the meeting, if I'm there, then I gather up the papers, another little folder, strengths. Okay? Now come back and let's look at weaknesses. Homework assignment, again, you read from the book. Many consulting clients have given me permission to talk about them in my strategic planning and management book. You look at examples from other companies. Now let's get the weaknesses out on the table. So many times I've seen business organizations not want to face their weaknesses. There's such a climate and a culture in that organization that if you even bring out some particular weakness, your career's in jeopardy. That doesn't make any sense to me at all. Do you? And if everybody's in agreement, then something's wrong. If you're not getting plenty of good, solid discussion, then you're just sleeping through the plan and wasting your time. If you're doing that, you need to take your books back to the bookstore, get a refund, and just continue doing business like you have in the past. Okay, now, once again, you've got a file, you've put it aside. All right, let's look at the area now of assumptions. Okay, in an assumption, what you're trying to do is say, our plan is based on a few specific things. Now, going back to this oil company example, and this particular planning retreat I'm discussing happened quite a number of years ago. But at the time, the oil prices had not declined, and we were on a 5-day retreat, the top officers in the company, and the plan was based on $34 oil. The assumption was, this whole plan was based on the assumption that oil would not go below $30 a barrel. Now, that's just an example. You need to have 2 or 3 critical things that say, our plan is based on these specific assumptions. Now, obviously, as we all know, as time went on and oil went below $30 a barrel, then a new plan had to be rethought. So again now, you cover this the same way. What are your major assumptions? You gather information in the files, and then now that you've gathered that information, you're set to come up with better answers. Now, let me share with you how to get that into final form. Now you're at a stage of what I call the foundation stage, and it's just before you set your major objectives. You take this 20 people that we've talked about now, break them up into another mix, and now you create 4 committees. You create a purpose committee, an environmental analysis committee, a strengths and weaknesses committee, and an assumption committee. Now you give them each of those files. They have been involved in the discussion, and it's each of those committees' job now to go out and add a few more people in the organization, 1, 2, or 3 to that committee, and start writing a purpose statement. Start gathering environmental analysis. We need more information. Get your controllers got to be on your strengths and weaknesses committee. What's the financial condition of this company? Now, what you've noticed now is we've added about another 10 or 15 people into the process. Now we're getting involvement from a larger group of people in the planning process.